الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Continuing with the chapters of the Salah from the book of الترغيب والترهيب by Imam Al-Mundhiri rahimullah, and the chapter of الترهيب من رفع البصر إلى السماء في الصلاة, the warning against raising one's eyesight to the skies or to above during the Salah, that this is something that is forbidden. It's not permissible for someone to be in the Salah and to look up into the skies or to the ceiling or just to basically to look up. And the hadith of Anas radiallahu anhu قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ما بال أقوام يرفعون أبصارهم إلى السماء في صلاتهم فاشتد قوله في ذلك حتى قال لينتهن عن ذلك أو لتخطفن أبصارهم. And the hadith is reported by Bukhari and others. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, what's the matter with some people? يرفعون أبصارهم, they raise their eyesight to the السماء, and the السماء is anything that is above. Doesn't have to be the skies, or someone would say we have ceilings. Anything that is above. They raise their eyes to what's above in their salah. فاشتد قوله في ذلك. The Prophet ﷺ, his statement was intense, as if he repeated it or he made it very clear that this is something that he's warning from ﷺ, till he said ﷺ, لا ينتهن عن ذلك, either they would stop and forbid themselves from doing so, أو لتخطفن أبصارهم, or their eyesights will be seized and taken away and snatched away from them if they do not stop looking at the skies during the Salah. And the Prophet ﷺ, his way in forbidding the evil, that he would say ما بال أقوام, instead of pointing at a person. The Prophet ﷺ, as it's mentioned in the authentic hadith, that he would see them from behind him ﷺ. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to the Prophet ﷺ. And he said, إِنِّي لَأُبْصِرُ مَنْ وَرَائِي كَمَا أُبْصِرُ مَنْ بَيْنَ يَدَيْ, I see those who are behind me the same way I see those who are in front of me. So the Prophet ﷺ would see those who are behind him. So he saw, whether it's an incident or so, that he saw some people in the Salah and they would look up like this. So instead of saying, you so and so, why did you do that? Embarrassing them in front of the people. And this is something that is well known. The Prophet ﷺ would always say, مَا بَالُ أَقْوَامٍ, what's the matter with some people, they do this. So then this becomes part of one of the etiquettes to be done when someone wants to warn the people of something. Even if it's one person does it, he can say it in front of everyone so that he's not embarrassing that individual, and the outcome is being established, and that is to forbid the evil. But what is here's the point of reference here, that it's not permissible to look up there when a person is in the Salah. Otherwise, as we heard, the warnings or their eyesights would be taken away from them. And this hadith came in many different narrations like this. And this is also part of the subject of the khushu' of the Salah. Where should a person look while he's standing in the Salah is at the position of the sujood. And a person should not close his eyes thinking that this is more of a khushu', that he wants to close his eyes. This is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. This is from the tanattu', from the ghulu, from the extremism. Some people, they would, for example, turn off the lights. They want to make it very dark, extremely dark for them to have khushu', or to close their eyes, or to do things like this. This is all not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But also the physical things to be done, not to pray in a place where it has all kinds of decorations that distract the person, or anything that distracts the person should be avoided. Even the Prophet ﷺ, when Safwan, may I give him imbijaniya, which is a piece of cloth that has lines to it. And the Prophet ﷺ returned it back to him. He gave him as a gift. He returned it back and he asked for something else so that also he does not break his heart. And he said, إِنَّهَا أَلْهَتْنِي عَنْ صَلَاتِي أَنِفًا. He said to him, it distracted me while I was making my salah. So and he's the Prophet ﷺ, the purest man ever walked on the face of earth. So anything that distracts, and one of which, for example, the little children in the masjid, right? It distracts the people when they are in the salah. right? And we should encourage the children to come to the masjid. But when they come to the masjid, they should not be of any distraction to the people in the salah. So usually if they're very young, they're not able to comprehend things, it's easier for them if they would stay home. Easier for them. So that people don't tell them, oh, you have to sit and you have to be quiet. And unless they would respect the matter and they don't run in the masjid, for example, then it's different. But if you know for sure that your child will take the masjid back and forth and screaming and things like this, if it happens as you did not expect that, that's fine. People should be patient with one another. They should yell at one another after the salah. Things happens like that, and it happened at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. But if you know for sure that your child is someone that makes a big disturbance in the masjid, it's easier for the child not to bring him during the salah or to stay with his mother or in the sisters section. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them, because Salat al-Jama'ah is not obligatory for them. And they're at the extreme of forbidding the children from the masjid completely, which is wrong. And the other extreme in which the salah becomes just, so much distractions in it. And once the child is 7 years old or before that, and he knows the salah and he's in wudu, this is another issue. When the children are standing in the lines next to the people in the salah, if they don't have wudu because they're too young, then there's a gap in the line. And we're commanded to fill in the gaps of the line. So that's why if someone has a child, he can go all the way to the side. If he knows that his child is not in wudu, he's very young to be in wudu. So he would take him all the way to the end where no one adult would stand in that position to make it easy, so that the saf is not having a gap, which also, the issue of having sometimes, there's some sensitivity should not be present when it comes to enjoining good and forbidding evil and advising one another, especially with the way of the Prophet ﷺ, without pointing at people, without exposing people and things of that nature. And one of which is making the lines straight, which is the responsibility of the Imam. And if the Imam is trying to make the line for people to be close to each other in a soft way, without harming one another, without extremism, as we talked about it before, people also should be at ease with it. Sometimes people, they get irritated. No, I'm fine. Leave me alone. Things like this. As long as he's not being extreme in the matter, this is the duty of the Imam. And the Prophet ﷺ, he would yamsah ala manakib an-nas. He would touch them physically on their shoulders to make sure that they are lined up in a soft way. And he would say, Linu bi aydi ikhwanikum. Be soft with the hands of your brother. Don't make it tight for him. Don't make it difficult for him. But at the same time, as we mentioned before, to fill in the gaps and to be like al-bunyan, like a structure. أَلَا تَصُفُّونَ كَمَا تَصُفُّ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. Don't you love to be in lines like the angels are in lines? So this was a previous subject. So all of that is مَبَالُ أَقْوَامٍ. So if someone wants to make a general advice, it's best to be that way without pointing out someone. If someone phone rings during the salah, usually not a Muslim would intentionally make sure that his phone is loud during the salah to disturb people. So that means he forgot. So people have to be lenient with one another, not after the salah to scream at each other. Why don't your phone is on and things like this. And if someone during the salah, his phone is ringing, then to avoid the harm of the distraction, put your hand in your pocket, get the phone, turn it off. And all of this movement does not break the salah, because there's an important benefit here. Unless the phone is far away distance and he has to walk, then it breaks the salah. So if a person forgot, there's no harm, inshaAllah ta'ala, but it's also one of the distractions, especially where this is no excuse if someone has music playing in his phone. If he forgot to turn it off, that's fine. Yes, a person forgot. We all forget. But to have music in the phone, yes, we should still have a benefit of the doubt. He didn't know how to put the right tone for his phone. He's not very well with these types of things. It happened that an app, for example, is doing. So we have to give the benefit of the doubt and have husn done towards one another. But it's very important not to have any, of course, musical tones in our phones, since music is haram, and this is something to be avoided. So I just mentioned some of the examples here. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy, inshallah. But if someone looks up by an accident, he heard a voice from noise from upstairs, or the tree is falling or something like this. By accident, there's no harm. رفع علامات الخطأ والنسيان. My ummah is not to be held accountable with mistakes and forgetfulness. So if it's by mistake, then there's no harm in it.